Coming up on News 2, VI Delegate to Congress, Donna Christensen says she's surprised the VI Chamber of Commerce has come out in opposition to the creation of a Chief Financial Officer position for the territory. And Governor John P. DeYoung Jr. approved a bill outlawing the use and sale of bath salts and synthetic marijuana. Plus, highlights from the 139th Kentucky Derby in Louisville, Kentucky. See how our Virgin Islanders did. Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gomansing. Top in this newscast, VI Delegate to Congress Donna Christensen says she's surprised that the VI Chamber of Commerce has come out in opposition to the creation of a Chief Financial Officer position in the territory. The Chamber maintains they voted in opposition last August, and their stance has not changed. News 2's Erica Bivens explores each side's take on the matter.
Last week, the St. Thomas St. John Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors announced they oppose VI Delegate to Congress Donna Christensen's bill to create a Chief Financial Officer for the territory. The Congresswoman says she's surprised.
So that really surprises me that they have come out that way and come out that way without having the respect in my office to ask me some questions about it.
In a press release dated April 29th, the Chamber stated they were appalled to learn House Resolution 85 was passed by the Natural Resources Committee on April 24th, making it the fifth time the bill passed out of the committee. The bill, H.R. 85, would allow the governor of the Virgin Islands to appoint a CFO with approval from the legislature.
I think that when we are in the kind of economic conditions that we're in, where businesses are being asked to pay an increase in gross receipts tax, where they have significant expenses and where employees have had their salaries cut and some have been laid off, and where we're not sure what other austerity measures might be necessary, that it's important for everyone in the territory to have some assurance about where we are financially from an independent source.
But the Chamber, along with Governor John P. DeYoung Jr. and former Governor Charles Turnbull, believe the bill has no merit. Rather than helping financially, the Chamber believes the legislation would actually increase the government's expenses. Legislation states the CFO's salary would be paid for with VI government funds, and the position would be a 5-year term. However, Christensen says costs can always be addressed.
I understand the concerns about the cost of the office. I think that can be addressed. It's not addressed in the bill, but there are some discussions about that.
The bill has changed over the last decade, but the current legislation does not direct the CFO to assume the powers of the Office of Management and Budget. Even still, the Chamber calls it federal interference with local affairs. In their release, the board states they voted in opposition to the bill last August and have not changed their stance. However, Christensen does not remember any type of vote, and she wonders
how a body such as the Chamber of Commerce could make a decision like that without hear from the sponsor of the bill.
Christensen says despite the Chamber's view, feedback she's received tells her to continue pushing.
What I hear from my constituents is something totally different, and it seems as though, from what I understand, that the Chamber may be out of sync with the sense of the entire community. In most instances, people were congratulating me and saying they are so glad that I reintroduced it and don't give up on it.
For News 2, I'm Erica Bivens.
The president of the St. Thomas St. John Chamber of Commerce Board was not available to comment on Monday due to traveling. The bill must pass through the full House for a vote before moving to the U.S. Senate. On Friday, Governor John P. DeYoung Jr. signed several bills into law. He first approved a bill outlawing the use and sale of bath salts and synthetic marijuana, stating unchecked substance abuse along with the traffickers who support it have found their way into our community. This bill is a positive step in identifying these substances to prosecute those who possess and use them. He also approved an increase to the administrative fee for criminal defendants placed on probation from $200 to $500. DeYoung also approved a number of zoning measures. Although he vetoed one for being incomplete, the governor also approved a bill to convert 2 parcels of land in Coral Bay to an eco-resort. Although he urged the 30th legislature to attach a special condition to it to address concerned Coral Bay residents, DeYoung vetoed a bill which would require the Agriculture Department to employ a marketing director, stating it violates the separation of powers of doctrine. Meanwhile, Governor DeYoung approved a bill that releases business owners and employees that sell alcohol from liability for injury or damage caused by or resulting from intoxication of patrons. A bill delaying changes to the school calendar year, meanwhile, was also approved to allow the Department of Education to assess the impacts. And another bill precluding retirees from returning to government service while receiving their retirement annuity was vetoed. DeYoung also acknowledged two resolutions, one to recognize June as Great Outdoors Month, another calling for U.S. Congress to pass H.R. 92, which would authorize a grant of $100 million to WAPA to alleviate the energy crisis. Well, it's National Tourism Week, and in recognition, the USVI Department of Tourism planned several activities to address two key areas: island cleanliness and customer service. With this year's theme, Let's Clean Up Our Act. Tourism Week kicked off this weekend with a territory-wide cleanup on Saturday at various locations. Now, volunteers were provided a t-shirt, gloves, reusable water bottle, and drinking water. There are also free customer service workshops this week coming up, conducted by professional trainer and Virgin Islander Brian Williams. St. Croix will host theirs May 7th at UVI Great Hall, and Wednesday, May 8th, it's at the Henry Rolson Airport. St. Thomas will hold their workshop Thursday, May 9th at the VI Port Authority's conference room, and Friday, May 10th at UVI's Administrative and Conference Center. St. John is scheduled for Thursday, May 9th at the Julius Browse School. Well, following a 4-day marketing mission in the greater New York City area, the Department of Tourism will again be showcasing the U.S. Virgin Islands on Tuesday. Tourism Commissioner Beverly Nicholson Doty accepted a request from Delegate to Congress Donna Christensen to testify at the Energy and Commerce Subcommittee on Commerce, Manufacturing and Trade. The hearing is entitled Vacation Nation: How Tourism Benefits Our Economy. The hearing is scheduled for 10:30 a.m. Tuesday at the Rayburn House Office Building and will be streamed live at energycommerce.house.gov. Tourism officials from other states will also be testifying. And here is an update for drivers to keep in mind. Innovative is currently working on one project that will affect the flow of traffic over the next 2 weeks on St. Croix from Cotton Valley to Kramer's Park on May 2nd, 2013 to May 16th. Innovative construction crews began performing excavation work along Route 82 East End Road, starting at the Cotton Valley Central to the intersection of Kramer's Park to facilitate the placement of fiber optic and coaxial cables. The construction zone is 2.1 miles, and this project will take approximately 2 weeks to complete. At the present time, Innovative does not have any projects on St. Thomas and St. John that will affect the traffic flow. Innovative is the parent company of CBS TV2. Well, police on St. Thomas arrested one person suspected of being involved with an armed robbery at the Hooters restaurant. The robbery was still in progress when police arrived on the scene. Officers saw a Suzuki vehicle attempting to leave the Buccaneer Mall's parking lot. Police pursued the vehicle, and the vehicle crashed into some barricades in the area. The driver, later identified as 23-year-old Mark Thomas, exited the vehicle and began to run, but was apprehended. Police said $500 and 3 cell phones that were taken during the robbery were found in his possession. Thomas was charged with first-degree robbery, and his bail was set at $110,000. According to the preliminary police report, at 11:15 p.m. on May 5th, employees noticed 2 males dressed in all black enter the business with firearms in their hands. The suspects asked the employees where the office was located and were shown to the back of the restaurant. The suspects opened the emergency door at the rear of the business and allowed 2 additional suspects to enter. They removed cash from a safe in the office, took money, keys, jewelry, and cell phones from the employees and patrons before fleeing the area. Police on St. Croix are investigating a first-degree burglary at Estate Butler Bay. Several items were taken during the May 5th burglary. Police said no one was injured. Police filed a preliminary report that stated there were at least 2 males having dinner at the Butler Bay Great House. The males noticed 2 armed and masked males enter the room and threaten them. The suspects restrained the victims with duct tape and assaulted one victim by punching him. The suspects took the victims' debit cards and forced them to reveal the PIN numbers. They took a Ford Escape and a 15-year-old Remington 12-gauge shotgun from the home. The victims said both suspects were slim-built and had Crucian accents. Both victims refused medical treatment. The Criminal Investigation Bureau detectives are following up on the case. They're urging anyone who has any information about this case to call detectives at 712-6077, 712-6077, rather 712-6037, 712-6077, 911, or you can call Crime Stoppers USVI at 1-800-222-TIPS. Well, the Virgin Islands National Guard's Family Programs Office will be hosting a farewell ceremony for 2nd Detachment, Delta Company, 1st Battalion, 126th Aviation Regiment, Virgin Islands National Guard at the Lionel A. Jackson Readiness Center classroom on Tuesday, May 7th at 5:30 p.m. The unit is scheduled to leave the territory in the next several days to Fort Benning, Georgia, for a mobilization period before heading to Egypt to assist in flight operations. The aviation detachment's last deployment to Iraq in August 2011 was cut short, and the unit returned home in 4 months in December. Major General Ronaldo Rivera, Adjutant General of the Virgin Islands, and Lieutenant Governor Gregory Francis will be in attendance. Well, activists say Israel's weekend airstrike inside Syria killed more than 40 Syrian soldiers. Israeli officials say they're not trying to get involved in that country's civil war, but acted to prevent Hezbollah militants from getting weapons. We get more from Danielle Nottingham at the State Department.
Israeli troops and the Iron Dome air defense system are deployed on Israel's border with Syria after a pair of airstrikes inside Syria. A senior Israeli official says the strikes targeted weapons being shipped to Hezbollah, a militant group that fought a month-long war with Israel in 2006. In Jerusalem, residents are showing support for the strikes.
Israel should take any measures necessary to protect itself, as any rational country or state would do.
The Syrian government called the airstrikes an act of war, saying at least 40 soldiers were killed and another 100 are still missing. Israel's government has not formally acknowledged the airstrikes, and the Obama administration is not commenting as it weighs whether to step up involvement in the Syrian civil war. Retired General Richard Myers told CBS this morning Israel's action and possible retaliation from Syria wouldn't draw the U.S. into the conflict.
They attack the northern border region of Israel. Israel could probably handle that on their own.
Some lawmakers are calling on the White House to act before the 2-year-old war spreads to the entire region.
This is as bad a situation as I have seen in a long time.
The United Nations says more than 70,000 people have been killed since the fighting broke out. Danielle Nottingham, News 2.
And keeping our eye on the economy, the Senate was expected to pass a bill today making it easier for states to collect sales tax for online purchases. Many online sales are tax-free under the current law. That means states lost an estimated $23 billion last year. Some of the nation's biggest retailers support the Senate measure, but some small business owners say it caused an accounting nightmare for them. The bill faces an uncertain fate in the House. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank Stock Market Watch. The Dow down 5, NASDAQ up 14, S&P up 3. Coming up on News 2, highlights from the 139th Kentucky Derby in Louisville, Kentucky. See how our Virgin Islanders did. Plus, highlights from the Ironman Triathlon. That's all coming up in sports. Well, taking a look at prices at the pumps, independent gas station operators in the territory are paying $3.24 per gallon for regular gasoline, $3.55 per gallon for premium, and $3.53 per gallon for diesel fuel when they buy their fuel wholesale from Hovenza. Therefore, the rack rates or price of fuel purchased wholesale from Hovenza was increased for regular and premium gasolines by 5 cents per gallon. Hovenza adjusts the rack rates weekly, so these rates are effective through Sunday. We are taking the time to recognize the ones who take care of us in times of emergency. The Schneider Regional Medical Center is celebrating its annual Hospital Nurses Week this week with a few events lined up to honor their employees. Today, the Spiritual Enrichment Program for National Nurses Day that was held under the theme of Delivering Quality and Innovation in Patient Care that was held in the first floor of the lobby. Then on Wednesday, May 8th, there will be a pinning ceremony, volunteer and years of service recognition ceremony from 10 a.m. to noon, also in the first floor lobby. The 30th anniversary celebration of the Myra Keating Smith Community Center will take place the following week. That's May 16th on St. John. Well, hospitals are under pressure not only to treat their patients, but to make sure they don't come back. President Obama's healthcare overhaul is addressing the issue of unnecessary readmissions, and hospitals that don't address the problem could face billions of dollars in fines. CBS News correspondent Bigad Shaban explains how that part of the Affordable Health Care Act is changing patient care.
Marjorie Creer suffers from back problems, diabetes, and hypertension, and has more prescriptions than she can count.
Oh God, it must be 9 or 10 medicines.
It's hard to even keep track.
It's hard to keep track.
That confusion is one reason why the 66-year-old went to the emergency room 8 times last year.
I went more than I wanted to go, but I had no choice.
Because of healthcare reform, hospitals now have to pay penalties to Medicare if too many of their patients return to the hospital within 30 days of being discharged. Those often avoidable readmissions cost the healthcare system about $26 billion each year.
UCLA Medical Center is among the hospitals nationwide that are now working to cut down readmission rates. They're spending more than $1 million to pair discharged patients with care coordinators.
Were you taking that every day?
Tiffany Fahn is one of 15 care coordinators at UCLA. She's been working with Creer since November and frequently checks in with her to make sure she takes the right medicine and understands her doctor's instructions.
As I was doing that over the weeks, her blood pressure decreased, her blood sugars came down. She remembered to take medications.
Creer says the relationship probably saved her life.
I know eventually she's going to call, and I'm just not going to lay here and die.
Since the two met 6 months ago, Creer has managed to stay out of the hospital and gain a friend in the process. Bigad Shaban, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And stick around, your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.